animation of the sea. A young boy is floating amidst the wreckage of a ship. A large sea beast is spotted in the distance. Fantastical kaiju like a wraith smoothly swims under him and from the wreckage. Next, we meet the other main character who's reading Tales of Captain Crow, a monster book about the hunters of old. I can't stress how much this movie reminds me of How to Train Your Dragon. Seriously, it feels like a spin-off movie set in the future of the same universe. It definitely, honestly, even though it isn't, would have made a better future spin-off of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise than this garbage that we got.
But this is garbage.
All these kids are in an orphanage because their parents were monster hunters, and they died at sea fighting monsters. They're declared heroes. And these kids grew up in this tradition knowing that their parents were badasses, so it's reason to celebrate.
When you disobey the house rules, you disrespect them. So we're not going to have any more attempts, now are we?
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Anyway, Maisie decides to head out once again. Meanwhile, on the sea, Captain Crow's crew spots a ship in trouble. By the way, this guy, I said on my post that it sounds like he's voiced by Butcher from The Boys. Yes, apparently that is Carl Urban. Damn, I'm good. Captain Crow, Jacob Holland, the little boy who was on the wreck that he now adopted, and Captain Crow's first mate, the very loyal Sarah Sharp, are hunting this big kaiju creature called the Red Bluster, a legend. But because of the code, they stop to help the ship under attack. Captain Crow seems to be really interested in getting this Red Bluster creature, but his adopted son convinces him that they need to save people because of the code. While they're there, they lure the creature away with their flares, able to see where it is because a crowd of seagulls always follows these monsters when they're close to the surface. I think the designs for these creatures are very interesting. Yes, they are very How to Train Your Dragon-like, but a lot smoother and easier on the eyes and look less like a storybook, more like a children's poster, if that makes sense. Anyway, the battle doesn't last very long because badass Captain Crow here decides to pull a Christian Bale from Reign of Fire and stabs the creature in the heart, killing it instantly. And sorry, it was Matthew McConaughey.
Damn.
When the monster starts sinking to the bottom, Captain Crow goes to retrieve the trophy and the monster starts to wake up. He makes his way to the surface, he is dragged back down to the depths. And I actually thought he died. Because, like, how is he going to survive that? He looks like he's drowning. But he is saved by Jacob and the crew. How? I don't know. Being humbled by this, the captain kind of wants to go home. But he basically tells Jacob, yeah, after we kill the Red Bluster, that's cool, but then what do we have? What do I have? Having nothing to leave behind, he leaves behind his legacy of monster hunting and his ship, and basically says that Jacob, from when he found him as a boy, he always saw something in him, and he took him on as a son. He is going to be the new captain of this vessel and continue the work that Crow himself wanted to do.
My boy.
The crew of the Inevitable goes back to the Crown. Maisie reaches there, and when they're all celebrating at a pub, that's when Maisie makes her acquaintance with Jacob. She wants to be part of his crew. When he asks who's taking care of her, she says her parents were killed on their ship. They were hunters. This they have in common. Jacob's parents were also killed, which is probably how he got into monster hunting. When the hunters arrive to the king and queen's palace, they see a ship called the Imperator. They fully intend to replace hunters. I mean, they're paying for the lot of them, but let's face it, they want more control. And Captain Crow tells them, bro, you can't hunt those kinds of creatures with that ship that you've got there. Captain Crow runs off his mouth, but Jacob says, here's the deal. How about, instead of you decommissioning our ship, let's have a contest. Whoever kills the Red Bluster wins. And then, we get to keep our ship and, keep hunting for you and you pay us, which is what you want. Or we're decommissioned and you use your ship. And that means you win either way. And they seem fine with this. When they set out to find the Red Bluster, they find out that Maisie had stowed away. Captain Crow lets her stay because he sees a fire in her, saying that she's all vinegar. And that's what he'd also seen in Jacob. Seeing Sarah Sharp and all these other badass characters that she's only seen in her storybooks, she feels like she's living her dream come true. Sarah gives her a knife, and she says that she'd want something bigger. Jacob's not okay with this, but Captain Crow is the one who tells him that, dude, you were a little kid too, and I saw that in you as well. Honestly, the relationship between Captain Crow and Jake is so cool. They really are like father and son. And since Captain Crow has no kids of his own, not to our knowledge, Jacob is essentially going to be his heir. Things get harrowing when they are attacked by a beast, the Red Bluster, the one they've been waiting for. And Maisie, who was so excited before, is now terrified. One of the coolest things about this shot and action sequence is how the Red Bluster starts making a whirlpool. And yes, this dragon or monster is basically a red water Night Fury. And I'm not the only one who's saying that. Apparently a lot of people feel this way, but this creature basically is that. It's elusive, the head shape's the same, it's very intelligent and commanding. So the monster makes a whirlpool, and Jacob tries to tell the captain that they need to abort the mission, but the captain's so filled with revenge at this creature probably took his family's life or something, that he's like, no, we'll risk it. But people are about to die, and Maisie realizes that and starts to cut the rope. Captain Crow tells Jacob to tell Maisie to stop, but Jacob realizes what's up, and he allows Maisie to cut the rope. And while she cuts the rope, the creature sees this. Maisie and Jacob accidentally fall into the water, and honestly, this scene right here made me gasp. My heart was in my chest. I was like,
Oh, fuck.
yo, dude, that's freaking insane. That thing is scary, bro. I felt chills go up my spine when I saw that. See, I can't even speak. That was a really, really, really good scene. Oh my god, the music along with it. If they'd made this a horror, this would have been great. Just look how amazing this scene is. The colors, the ominous music with the redness of the creature in the depths clothed by deep sea darkness and mystery. This foreboding sensation that you feel in the open ocean alone with this thing that can swallow you whole.
I don't really need to sleep.
When they get back to the surface, Captain Crow is like, bring her to me. She's a freaking traitor. Jacob's like, no, Daddy. Captain Crow has no intention of shooting him. He only wants the girl. Honestly, knowing Captain Crow, I don't think he would have shot her either. But you never know. Jacob has no intention of handing this little girl over. He says she's only a child. And you're wondering, okay, so what's his next move gonna be? Well, we don't have to wonder very long, because someone makes it for him. See what I mean with the horror movie shit? That would have been great. It'd be great if the show just ended right there. Maisie and Jake find themselves in the monster's mouth. When they go exploring, they can see the ocean and exactly what the monster is seeing through her nose holes. Look at the head of this thing. It looks like a salamander. Anyway, the Red Bluster starts to surface. And honestly, I had already realized that the monster was trying to save them because it didn't kill them when they were in the water. And to be fair, they did save her life. If you look back at the scene and you look at the nose hole of the creature, there is a slight membrane over the creature, and that's why the water is spraying up over it. I didn't realize, I'm like, why is the water floating like that? I thought it was just a difference in air pressure, and that is probably what it is, but maybe the difference in air pressure prevents water from going inside their nose. Does that happen with our noses? Anyway, Jacob's knife slips and the creature sneezes, and they get blasted onto the island. I love how in this movie they do a good job at showing what the monster looks like to scale. They don't do that with a lot of movies. But throughout this movie, you get exactly a good scale of just how large the Red Bluster is.
Hold on.
So during the entire time Jacob is trying to kill this monster and save Maisie, the monster is just looking at him like, so we're doing this? No, seriously, this monster really is freaking toothless. Look how large she is. And this part there, like, if someone edited this movie correctly, I swear to God, it could be a horror movie. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Man, this entire time I was watching this, like, when I first started it, and I saw, like, the first few minutes, I don't know if I was gonna like it. Because I'm like, oh, I'll see what happens. And then it didn't take a lot of time until I was completely immersed within this world. So breathtaking. Maisie looks legitimately scared. And this is truly a hiccup, How to Train Your Dragon moment. Like, how tiny Maisie is, and how the creature has the the control and gentleness to be able to hold Maisie by her little shoe without applying enough force to crack her feet and smush it into a flat pita, in and of itself alone is very impressive. The monster has no patience for Jacob's antics, and as he is getting ready to basically kill the monster, she's like, you know what? You look thirsty. Have some water. And then the monster goes about her business. Jacob and Maisie stay overnight in a little conch. I say little, you know, in comparison to the freaking kaiju roaming the island, but it's massive. Maisie's honestly so cute and adorable and likable. At first, she kind of seemed annoying, and I'm like, I don't like this character. But then after, you get to see the real her and know the real her, and I just fall in love with her. Meanwhile, Captain Crow seeks revenge. Not only is he angry at the Bluster for, I guess, you know, just being a monster, but it took his only, what he considered his son. And he decides to go to this woman who I guess is in dark magic or something, and there's always like this big consequence that comes with using her. Anyway, in the morning on the island, Maisie wakes up and makes a new friend, who she then calls Blue. It is so likable and globby and sweet and ugly at the same time. If you listen to the sound effects that this thing makes, it sounds exactly like the compies from Jurassic Park. Unfortunately, while she's hugging the creature and making friends with it, she steps on a whole bunch of eggs buried in the ground. Jacob tries to carry her over, but he steps in the eggs too. Oh no. The things that hatch out of them start roaring, and then we get kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean scene with all of them coming after them, which is kind of hilarious. Apparently, they've imprinted on the humans, and then the mother, walrus-looking dragon, comes out. And the only reason she was after them is because she wanted her baby. As soon as Maisie throws the baby back in the water, the mother's like, oh, okay. And then we get this scene, which is one of my favorite scenes. We get a kaiju battle of this huge crab-like creature, which the designs and colors honestly look really amazing. And then we can see the Red Bluster face off against the crab monster, who's like, oh shit. Got a little bit of Godzilla in this movie too, because it's essentially what this creature is. Later, the Red Bluster, who Maisie nicknames Red, defeats the crab. And honestly, I cannot help but think that this battle reminds me of Godzilla and Scylla from Godzilla Dominion. Because I think that's exactly what he did to her. And she was also like a crustacean-looking creature. Maisie gets Red to take them home. And it's discovered that she can actually understand the humans. They're very intelligent. And eventually, Jacob warms up to the creature. Out of desperation and fury, Captain Crow visits the woman, or whatever the hell she's supposed to be. She says, knowing that I take everything from you for you to get what you want, you still want to go with me? It will cost you everything. And there's this whole ominous tone with it, and we get a little bit of Moana animation going on. And don't worry, the consequence that he's going to face in this movie never comes. Yeah, I know, right? Unless there's going to be a second movie somewhere. That part just completely fell off the boat, pun intended. There's some really wholesome moments here that make me feel so good and like I am in the Red's world when I'm watching this. You see how easy it is for sea beasts to catch food and how beneficial they really are to each other. Humans and beasts, that is, if they stop killing each other. Jacob learns that the books were all a lie, and he helps Maisie to pull all the spears that were chucked inside Red out of her body. And he's wondering, if this is a lie, then how do we know what's the truth? And more importantly, why would someone lie about the history like this? Talking about the dark times and how the monsters started all of this. Maisie proposes that the monsters didn't start it, that humans did. After the storm washes their ship away and they decide to go inside Red's mouth, they deem that it's much nicer in there anyway. And then we get a beautiful scintillating imagery of what it looks like underwater when there's a storm above water. Isn't it beautiful? Maisie and Jake also see the result of all those years of war, the skeletons and remains of other beasts, and also the ships of fallen hunters. Jacob now does not want this to be his lot anymore. When these weird creatures that look like possessed eels start moving away and towards the inevitable ship, Captain Crow's like, well, these things only fear one thing, and that's the Red Bluster. When they reach the island they want to get to, Jacob tells Red that she should go home now. And out of symbolism, he tries to break his hunting spear, which is too hard to break. He tries it on his other leg and ends up hurting himself. Like I said, can't say it enough, I enjoy the scale. He lets Blue go too, because Blue stays with Red. And Maisie, thinking this is the last time she's going to see Red, hugs her. Something catches Red's attention, however, as she goes on the island. It's warships. The Imperator that the British or monarch people sent to go kill those monsters. Red knows exactly what this is, and she has the same fire in her eyes that Captain Crow does, to get revenge. Her new friends try to calm her down, but when one of the soldiers sees the red bluster atop the hill, firing at her just sets her off and pisses her off. What I find interesting about her design is how her fins fold inward. Usually animals on land, their fins fold outward, but I think the reason why they probably do that here is because her ancestors were probably knuckle walkers, and if her fins folded outwards, it would be very hard for the human characters to run alongside her without getting smacked or squished. She kills a lot of people. In order to stop her from killing one more human, she's shocked to find that Jacob has fired a weapon. She's like, you must have lost your mind. Are you serious? You can actually see her kind of question like, are you insane right now? What are you doing? What is your problem? But then she notices that Maisie is lying on the ground, obviously hurt. Jacob defends Maisie, not trusting the red bluster anymore, telling her to stay away, you beast. Red is angry with him for pulling a weapon on her. She didn't mean to hurt Maisie, but she wouldn't kill her friends. Anyways, this tense moment is interrupted by the ship, the Inevitable, and Captain Crow. Captain Crow ends up subduing Red by using that huge poison harpoon that he got from that leery woman. Unfortunately, Red goes to sleep, unable to fight the poison. Captain doesn't want Jacob to be his enemy. A sick Maisie gets up with her knife and tries to kill the captain, thinking that will save Red's life and stop the war between the monsters and humans. Which is like, you know, I get it. There were people trying to kill that monster, but she also killed way more people. But I guess it would make sense. You would want to appease the thing that has the most power, you know what I mean? And I also actually like that they show Maisie, a child, in actually a kids or family movie, getting hurt. It makes her feel like a real person. Seeing her lying there all tiny and injured makes me feel so bad for her. Like, I actually feel more for her right now. Her having gotten hurt, you could actually see her blood. There's a scene where Jacob picks her up when the grenade or the blast sounds off, and I guess she gets hit with shrapnel or something, and he picks her up and his hand is bloody. Like, that's actually pretty impressive. I don't know where people got the stupid notion from that kids need to be protected from blood. Wouldn't it be better for them, survival-wise, for them to see what happens in a situation where they could bleed so they don't try to emulate it? She actually needs to spend time resting. Anyway, they pull Red all the way back to the Three Bridges or the Royal Palace. Luckily, Blue has followed them all the way here, and we find out just how strong this little thing is. He's able to rip off the hinge to see his friend. He looks so dumb, but so cute at the same time. I just love him. He's so gooey, and you really want to hug him and squeeze him. Good job, Netflix. This is gonna make a lot of toys. And you know you need merchandising, because that's what you're missing out on. Maisie knows she has to do something to save her friend. When she sees the sigil of the Royal Palace, she notices that every book about the Dark Time has the Royal Palace sigil on it. And I guess this means that because the story has their sigil on it, they were the ones telling the lies about these monsters the whole time. Animation's done so well. Anyway, Maisie gets to cutting the rope. When the captain comes into the palace, he's like, see, you still need hunters. Look what we were able to accomplish. This was actually his last monster that he was going to down before he decided to retire and give his ship to his adopted son, Jacob. Jacob says, yeah, I can't let you kill the Red Blessed because he was going to kill it in front of the people. But Jacob, having a turn of heart, decides that the monsters are not to be killed because we're only making things worse. Captain Crow feels betrayed by him, saying that he saw him as a son and gave him everything. While all of this is happening, Sarah sees Maisie cutting the rope. And instead of selling her out or stopping her, she says, I should have given you a bigger knife, which is something Maisie had said earlier on. And it's wonderful because Sarah can probably see a little of herself in the girl. Of course, she's loyal to the captain. She realized he wasn't thinking straight when he decided to go to that woman and put everybody at risk. Maisie cuts the rope and Red gets up, but is still kind of out of it. I absolutely love how they do that, because if she was poisoned or sedated, that's exactly how she'd be acting as an animal. She wouldn't just wake up and then start killing everyone and be fully aware. As cartoonish as this movie is, there are a lot of realistic elements that I absolutely love about it, and it makes me feel and believe that this world is real. Of course, the royal pissants are like, kill them, everyone! Kill them! So they bring out the cannons as Red tries to catch herself. Before Red can kill Captain Crow, Maisie saves the day and tells her to stop. She gives a speech to the entirety of the town and tells them that if they continue, just like she told Red, then it would never stop. Jacob takes the harpoon from the statue. No more monster hunting, he screams as he finally breaks it. The king and queen order everyone to kill the dragons, but no one's listening to them anymore, realizing that based on what Maisie said, they had been lying to them the whole time and they are the ones that made up these stories. My only complaint is there's no hard evidence for that, because it's like, okay, the symbol was approved by them, but it doesn't mean they're the ones that started the stories, you know what I mean? But they're the monarchs, so they have to be the evil ones. Military guard says that he wants to find out more about whether or not this is actually true. Jacob rubs his thigh, and it's revealed that he actually had gotten hurt like he did on the island, but it meant enough to him to show Red that symbol of fate. Jake eventually adopts Maisie and Blue, just like Captain Crow had done him. And Captain Crow, as he saw them sailing off on the back of the dragon, dropped his weapon. I say dragon because let's be honest, you know exactly what it is. And at the end, we see Red swimming wildly again and just having true freedom and no fear of being hunted by people. Such a sweet and wholesome story. It was, yeah, very cut and dry, but I absolutely enjoyed it. And of course, I might be biased because I love monsters, but I also like a lot of what they did. They also gave the characters their own personalities, and Maisie was easy to love. Red was easy to love. The kaiju were easy to love. Even the ones that were fighting against Red or against the humans. I understood where each of them were coming from. Because you gotta understand, Captain Crow comes from a generation where he was told since a kid that these monsters were responsible for everything bad that has happened. I feel like it's an allegory for just everyone. No matter what religion you are or what you believe, people have a tendency to be very tribal, which is a natural thing to do. But once you put your differences aside and either agree to disagree, you don't necessarily have to be friends or anything like that. You can live peacefully with each other. Anyways, this was a great movie. I love the world. I definitely want to know more about it. And if they go this whole route where they take the inspiration from another very popular franchise, wink wink, you know what I mean? I'm totally down for it. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.